loose laces? Loose something.
Welcome to episode 100 of the Loose Laces podcast. My name is Davon. I'm joined by
Rashad,
and I have the illustrious honor of introducing my OG, Paperchaser of social status. Is it social? I always mix it up with the store.
social studies.
Social studies. I don't know why I always want to say status.
Also, CLT. Yep. Yes.
And OSD.
Critical lace theory. Yes. And the OG of obsessive sneaker disorder. It's not even an argument. I believe it is the first sneaker podcast.
Ever. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the very first sneaker podcast.
Hold on. Talk shoe.
Hit the applause.
We need the applause. Yeah. We're going to let it go the entire way, too, because we're not sparing no applause for you.
First one ever.
Yeah, I need you to talk your shit to start.
All right, man, look. First of all, thank y'all for having me on. Episode 100, Loose Laces. Happy to be here for this monumentous episode. For those who are just tuning in for the first time, and I'm sure you will be because I'm going to be telling everybody to tune in. This is Sean Paperchaser Williams of Obsessive Sneaker Disorder, Social Studies Community Academy now. That's right. We have our own sneaker school, the world's first business and culture sneaker academy. As Shah said, CLT, which stands for Critical Lace Theory. That's our new podcast coming. We got the return of OSD. The OG podcast coming.
Let's go.
Soon. We got a new mobile docu-series called Know You Got Soul coming soon. Premiere episode with the esteemed OG, my OG, Bobito Garcia.
Yo, Bobito.
That's lit.
We got a lot going on, man. Happy to be here to share, and then, us have this little sneaker play reunion, if you will. I'm proud of y'all guys because y'all have been at it, living life and still doing what y'all do to stay passionate about contributing to this culture through this craft. Y'all podcast. I'm proud of y'all. Congratulations. Episode 100.
Thank you.
Let's have some fun, man. Let's have some fun. Let's first, I'm questioning y'all first. Shad did Hucks.
Okay.
For y'all who don't know, Davon for 100. Davon has been for Loose Laces 100 episodes, but I know him as Hucks.
That's a name I've been called in a minute.
So y'all are here episode 100, man. That's quite a journey because we did 365 episodes before we originally retired OSD. How does that feel? Y'all were part of seeing us do what we did. Y'all were a big part every Wednesday of what we did for 7 years, 365 episodes. How does that feel for you guys now?
Well, did you want to go first?
I'm going to start. First off, I'm going to start off by giving you flowers because most people have only seen me be disrespectful. So it's weird for me to show reverence. But OSD and Pape, off rip, Pape, I got to give you so much, so many props because this man saw a young, feral, angry teenage boy and was like, nah, come in. Let me show you the game, son. This nigga DM'd me and was like, you got to stop this shit because I was wilding. And normally when someone spoke to me, I'm like, nigga, but it was like you were one of the few adults to really show me respect and love. And when you spoke, I was like, I'm going to listen. And then I started coming to the live recordings of OSD. And I was like, this shit is crazy. And I've been trying to capture that magic when I did my first podcast, which was a goddamn nightmare. When I was doing Opulent Savagery was just wild. And now to be back with my love of sneakers, with my best friend, and talking to my OG, it feels incredible. Because I'm not going to front. When we first started, I'm like, nobody's going to give a fuck about us talking about sneakers. People know us, but they don't know us like that. But for us to have found our community and to be able to not necessarily make change, but to be able to go out there and speak and people listen to us not because of who we are, but because of what we say, it feels incredible. So to go from something that was almost 20 years ago, seeing you and the rest of the OSD crew lay the groundwork and be able to pick up and keep walking along with the baton, it feels incredible to be here, especially to make it to 100. Because I'm just like, nigga, to make it to 10, I was surprised. To 100, like, wow,
it's a big deal, man. It's a big deal. Sean, how you feel about it, man?
Well, first I do want to say that there would be no Loose Laces if it wasn't for y'all. So that off rip, we got to give credit where credit is due. To even know that people cared enough to hear us talk about sneakers on a podcast, to even know what a podcast was. Like, I may have heard about maybe Combat Jack at the time, as well as a couple other people, but we didn't even like Talk Shoe wasn't even a podcast. We didn't identify.
Yeah,
we didn't identify as that. It was just like, oh, that's the show. Like it's the show OSD. So for this to come full circle, to finally have you on there and to see how hard it is to, and this is my guy. Like we don't really have like any beefs or anything.
No,
like we get along perfectly, but just life itself, scheduling and whatnot, how hard it is to just coordinate and to really be passionate about it, to knock out 100 episodes, but also to find your tribe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because again, we wanted to bring people in. We wanted to make it seem like, you know, people are overhearing a conversation between two friends and you're just entertained by it. Like it's super dope to get to 100 of them, you know, and hopefully it's
y'all have to keep going,
more.
man. It's important to keep going and control the narrative for our culture, right? Like when we started, people said the same thing. Podcast. What is a podcast? What station do you turn to on the radio to listen to that? Right. And they were like, oh, before that, get this one. That shit is stupid. No one's going to listen to you guys talk about sneakers. And we ended up 10,000, 12,000 audio downloads a week. Our tally right now of inactive, like from the time we stopped from the time we began to the time we stopped, we have over 12 million audio downloads.
Bro.
Back then, when no one was getting paid for podcasts, right?
Right.
And you mentioned Combat Jack; those guys came along after us, and they saw like what we were doing. Not to say that they stole from us, but seeing the popularity of an urban podcast with Black folks on it, talking about our culture and things in our culture. When they took it to the next level with creating a podcast network, that was when the conversation started happening around getting paid. And even they didn't, in my opinion, get paid the way they could now with guys like, Gilly and Wallow and all of them who are getting millions for their podcasts. We were doing numbers back then that are way better than theirs now. But there was no compensation matrix. So our blessing came the other way, though. We started getting the jobs with consulting for the brands and stuff because you guys know, you were listening. We were talking about the kind of stuff in the industry that now there's a Complex and Sneaker News and Footwear News, all these companies that report on all of that shit now. When we go look online, that was the shit we were talking about on the show in 2007.
Man, look, when I tell you one of the things, so Pape had offered me an online class, and I remember I was in the class with two other people, right? One of them was a writer, and the other one, I believe he started his own business.
Started his own business,
Yeah, Pedro. So I will say, just my learning experience, I didn't take full advantage of it because of a situation that I was in at the time. Mm-hmm. Where I was like, man, I would like to go into the industry, but I got to tie up a few loose ends. And I kind of kicked myself for it, to this day, right? Because had I acted on that, Pape was like, yo, come to New York. Come, you got to make this move. You'll fit right in. Had I did that, I don't know what my trajectory would have been, but I know I would have been, few years into the sneaker industry. And not to say it's anything I regret, but I'm like, man, I still do think what if, but also the foresight that Pape had to me still care about sneakers to the point now where I'm doing a podcast, you know?
That's the important
So
part,
I
right?
appreciate you for that.
Finding multiple ways to still be in this business. There's more than one particular way. A lot of people, they talk about it through the lens of, oh, I got to be a designer or I got to be this person in order to have my place in the industry. No, you don't. We never had a shoe. We've had opportunities to put our own shoes out. We customize and make our own limited runs of stuff, from time to time. But like, people know who we are and the work that we put in to contribute to this culture and this business because we stay dedicated to what people knew us for, right? And it's the same thing for y'all. Y'all are 100 episodes in. You're committed to being contributors to this culture through the Loose Laces podcast. And the quality of what you put out is a contribution. And that was what we took seriously was when we started realizing people were listening to the clip of like tens of thousands of audio downloads a week, y'all. We were like, holy shit. Like that was when I made the decision to because y'all remember how wild the show was. The chat room was lit. The phone was off the chain, right? But the chat room was particularly lit, right? And I still talk to this day about that infamous episode that Hux gave us that incredible contribution to. You know what I'm going to say, Hux?
Wait, what I do?
The shoe fuckers episode. Where you found that fetish where people was going in on their shoes. Remember that, bro?
Please don't just go left.
I bring that up and my wife gets so mad. She's like, "What the fuck were you doing as a kid?"
But it was. But see, this is how we listen and resonate with what's happening in the community, and we put it out there because, at that point we didn't grow up yet. We didn't have a run of show like how we evolved to. Y'all heard how we evolved to having stock report at the beginning of the show and all of that shit. You heard that it turned into and having guests on like Tinker and all these folks we had on. But in the beginning, it was wild. Like it was every Wednesday we ran Wednesday night because everybody, don't do shit on Wednesday. Don't do a sneaker event on Wednesday, especially not if it conflicts with when OSD come on, right? Folks used to be like, don't fuck with Wednesday night. You're not going to win because everybody came in and it was just one of those things where everybody either in the chat room or on the phone wanted to be a part of it. And everybody was contributing something worthwhile from us giving them the platform where we were like, when Hux put that out there, it was like you and I think Sneaker Queen talking about it. And
then, Sneaker Queen was the main
one.
And
you found the link. And I was like, what? And when we posted that link in the chat, while we were talking about it on the phone and the people on the phone couldn't see it.
Oh, man.
But y'all in the chat, it was bedlam.
Oh, please don't tell me it's messed up.
No, we here, man.
It sounds like he's back. Hello?
Okay, you back?
We here.
All right, you back.
We here.
Right.
It was bedlam. No. We posted that link. We used to post the link for everything we were talking about in the chat for y'all to start reacting to and have y'all own conversation sidebar while y'all listening to the show live. And that was off the chain. I mean, that was one of those episodes that told us, like, we are really doing something that, like, everybody gets in on every week. Like, we can't stop this. We need to really continue to evolve this into something where, like, we are an institution.
Nah, y'all, man.
That was the episode that made people regret us speeding up for dial-up internet. It's like, we just got out of that.
We got the Stone Ages to the Shoe fucking ages. Nah, honestly, I can't remember exactly what the episode was, but my favorite episode y'all did while I was wilding, y'all had someone from Nike, I believe, on there talking about the N7 initiative.
I can't remember who.
And people just started geeking in the chat, making jokes about the shoes. And I'm just sitting here like, it's crazy that we are right here talking directly with someone from Nike, just busting out jokes. And nobody's mad. Not like, well, that was the time. But I just love the casual nature that y'all brought to talking about shoes. And I think that's why I don't mesh as well with sneaker media now.
Same here.
Because I'm like, I like how fun it is. And I've always appreciated how you're a serious nigga. Like, I was showing my wife your LinkedIn when she got me to make one. And I'm like, this man knows everybody. And he talks to you just like you're a regular ass person. You like, that's another thing I've always appreciated. You never flexed on niggas like, you know who I know? Do you know who knows me? Nah, you just showed love and respect to everybody.
I have to.
And that's what I mean, yeah, but see, a lot of niggas don't move like that. A lot of niggas get up there like, well, I talked to Nike once. And for you to have that energy, especially with the show, that's what I love. And that's why I'm like, I know why y'all were doing those numbers. It was just everybody was on the same playing field and we all had fun because, nigga, I'm here on a Wednesday night to talk about shoes. It felt like a community. And I think that's what's missing from a lot of the things now. It's not a community, it's a competition. And I mean, that's crazy coming from a nigga that flexes all the time. But I love talking shoes. Disagreeing, agreeing, reminiscing. I just love that I can talk shoes with people who get it. And it's not just like, oh, I got Travis Scott's because they're cool. No, nigga, I got these Travises because they remind me of this colorway. I got it to match with this shirt. I love all angles that we can talk about shoes aside from the most boring one where it's just like, what's this shoe worth? Nigga, a shoe is worth whatever you want to pay for it.
Yeah.
I'm here to love them.
Also that we don't have to be so rigid about it. You know what I mean? Like that, I think that was the main thing about a lot of sneaker media that I feel like I saw before we got into it. It was just stick straight to, oh, well, the shoe, the designer. There was no play with it. There was no, like, we're people at the end of the day. Please tell me your life just isn't sneakers. If it is sneakers, I hope it's deeper than
go outside.
Yeah, I hope it's deeper than you just being a hyper consumer. Like, talk about the experiences. Let's talk about campouts at Mondawmin and the foolish shit that would just happen. Like, just the sneaker play days in a sense.
But you know what it was, Shad?
Some of the relations
was about those days for us. There was for all of us, not just for us in OSD. I'm talking about for all of us. It was really all about making sure that the personal connection was there with folks, as opposed to trying to come off like an elitist and you're untouchable with your information and your shoes, which is where we're at now. There's, complex, sucks ass. Make no bones about it. That's not what represents sneaker culture. That represents media and business. They don't represent culture. They never represented culture as far as I'm concerned. But they do talk about the business of sneakers, which in social studies, we teach the business. But OSD, we're all about the culture, right? So for us, we have the duality of being able to educate and empower about the business of shoes without losing the cultural sensibility. But then on the OSD side, we're all about the people, the culture, the social connections, the stories behind the shoes, all of those things, right? And you guys are from that DNA. So it's not surprising that that's where y'all fell with Loose Laces podcast, because that's the space that y'all have always been in. So to remain in the space where it's contrast and compare, where you guys are who you are in comparison to the other folks, you just have to build your system like y'all have for 100 episodes and continue to do that and put people in your space that way. You know what I'm saying? Don't put people in your space and then you totally flip what your show is about just for the sake of that person, that guest being on, because then you lose your identity. You're not going to be 100. You're not going to reach 100 more episodes that way. One of the things that, the hardest episode we ever had to do, me personally, was the Tinker Hatfield episode, because it took me 3 weeks to come up with questions that no one asked him in any previous interviews that we had saw. And
I mean, we
talking.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Everybody's talking to him about, when you did the threes, and people suck Tinker off. You know what I'm saying? Back then, especially. I'm surprised that man pants could stay around his waist long enough when he walked down the street back then. You know what I'm saying? But we had to do the homework to ask questions that no one ever asked and that were serious questions, right? So I literally had
Hmm.
to go into a journalism bag to find all the questions we were going to ask, and then we were like, okay, we're going to ask the right questions so that when we open it up for Q&A like we always do, we don't get those redundant, he's going to have to answer that question again type shit, and he just answered it an hour ago. You know what I'm saying? Because, the show was 2 hours, 2.5 hours,
Hmm.
our show. And we had Tinker on for 2 hours that day. It was like, and that was a blessing in itself. No one's ever talked to Tinker for 2 hours straight, you know?
Right.
So,
I don't even know if he got 2 free hours in
you
his
know,
day.
so, and then being able to ask him like the hard questions. Like we asked him, like when that Sports Illustrated cover came out, your sneakers are your life. Those are your shoes you designed that people out here dying for. How did you feel? No one ever asked him that question before. And,
They was
and
probably
when you go back
scared.
and listen to that episode, it was like we took the episode. It was here, and when I asked that question, I gave him the caveat. I was like, "We about to go low for a minute, but I promise you, I'm going to bring you back up." And then I hit him with that question. And it was like, "Oh shit, man!" And you know, I wasn't 100% happy with his answer, but it was an answer, and it was the answer I expected for him to be one of the most popular and long tenured employees of Nike. I expected it, so I wasn't disappointed with the answer, right? So then we took it
Hmm.
back up, right? And we ended that episode on a high note. But there was a lot of gems in that fucking episode because I took the time to ask him the right questions and shut the fuck up and let him give the answers. That's the other thing that is important when you have your guest on, like how y'all are doing now. Y'all are letting me talk. Y'all are not doing that Nori on Drink Champ shit. Interjecting with their own personal story about like some shit instead of letting the person tell their story. And he's gotten better. Like if there's in the beginning years of that show, I couldn't listen because as someone who created a podcast like from the ground up and painstakingly put episodes together, it was painful to listen to because when you have a guest on,
Hmm.
you're the point guard who's giving your guest the off the wing assist for a layup. That's what you're supposed to be, and he was never that. He's got
Hold on. Damn. I don't know what's up with this thing tonight. Well, all right. In the interim, he's about to come back in. But it's funny he mentioned Nori because that nigga is the reason I've never listened to an episode of Drink Champs. Every clip I've seen is just him getting drunk and being a belligerent fucking idiot. Okay, there's Pete. He's joining back in. All right, we can
there
hear
we
you.
go. So yeah, so like I was saying, you want to be the point guard who gives the assist to the guy on the wing. You ask the right questions, you're gonna get gems, right?
Hmm.
So we had to make sure we're talking to lawyers, we're talking to designers, we're talking to people in all these different capacities in the sneaker industry, and we have to ask the questions that are going to allow them to give us the answers they wouldn't give anywhere else, and nobody else from our community would get under any other circumstance unless they work for those brands,
Hmm.
right? That was the thing that we had fun doing, was being able to craft the right conversations around who the guest was and get them to give us shit. Like when Tinker came on and he was like, everything we were doing was between the years of 91 and 93, let's just say, was a response to what Reebok was doing. You think anybody would have ever had that conversation with Tinker and heard that if we didn't ask the right questions
Oh
around that?
my God. Nah.
You know what I'm
See.
saying? So, you know, and that's what leads you to the longevity in the game is every guest you have on, you treat them that way. You give them that pass off the wing, right? Every question has to be that. And that's what leads to you being a solid, valid resource for information, a go to in terms of your podcast every week. People start researching episodes they miss. When they miss episodes, they get mad and they're like, damn, I can't wait for them to post that one I missed. You know what I mean? And that was what we took pride in doing. We had a big ass cast, which is the other thing I would never do. Keep y'all cast small, which y'all are good with that. And we had people that we had to throw out of OSD because the popularity of the show started causing people to be running around behind our back talking about, oh, I can get you on OSD. OSD's my podcast. We could, nah. Slow that down. We run into people on the street, or they hit us with an email or something in the chat, and they'd be like, oh, I'm looking forward to being on OSD this week. We're like, who the fuck are you? Who told you that? Oh, I just spoke to so and so. He said I was good. I'm like, nah, if you didn't talk to me or D Wells, you're not good. So, there was stuff like that, like the growing pains of having a large cast of people who some of them abused the privilege and we had to throw them out.
Right.
And then when we finally found our groove, year 2, year 3, year 4, where we had a set group of people, the consistency of the voices was there along with the topics. People started getting used to hearing certain people weigh in from the OSD crew on certain topics. So that was the other thing, was consistent voice, sensible opinions, being able to, put your guest in a space where you ask and you sit back and listen. You ask those, little ancillary questions to provide context to what they answer with. Excuse me, but that's the formula right there. And to stay genuine to the podcast realm and to your culture is being able to do those things. And for y'all to reach 100 episodes, you've been doing that, because if it was a train wreck at episode 1 through 10, you wouldn't have made it to episode 100. So 100 episodes of a podcast is a big accomplishment. I'm happy y'all made it. I'm happy to be on it, and it's building blocks. We all started from Sneaker Play, which was sort of basically the genesis of, sneakers and social media before Instagram and all the other platforms that we all use. The thing I loved about that, which I want to bring back with trying to relaunch it, is if Sneaker Play were alive today,
Mm-hmm.
even with Instagram, TikTok, all the other platforms, we all still have that to ourselves. Away from that.
Hold on, we got to give the guests. We got to give our audience a little primer. So, if you're not more than likely you weren't familiar with Sneaker Play. So, Sneaker Play was like a mixture of Twitter, MySpace, Facebook, and this is like 08, 09.
Well, all right. I think we
Oh,
got to get.
06, 07.
Yeah. That was the early years, but yeah.
We got to give it better context, I think. Like, you had Nike Talk, you had ISS, style sneakers, you even had nsb.org.
Mm-hmm.
But then you had Sneaker Play. Now, Nike Talk was heavily moderated. You couldn't get away with nothing. People would have to go to like It's BX / Box Den or something like that to get the bad jokes off. Sneaker Play?
Woo!
Housed all that. Unless you pissed the mod off and the mod just didn't like you altogether.
Even then you get your jokes off, because the shit I got away with on that. Like, if y'all think I'm wild.
The way it was set up, right? It was 06 invite only.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
07 open to the public. All right. And by 08 it was dead.
Oh shit, it was.
Because here's what happened, right? Back then, it cost a lot of money for your site to grow. You had to now pay all that money for bandwidth, hosting expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And homeboy Roble didn't have the owner of Sneaker Play. It grew faster than he anticipated because we all start coming in when he opened it up to the public, and he couldn't afford the bandwidth hosting fees. So that was when he sold it. And when he sold it, it went to some folks who basically they were just like, fuck it, let's just buy this shit. It could be something, could be nothing. And they trashed it. They treated it like nothing.
Right.
But there was only a 2-year run of Sneaker Play. And what was the first thing people did when they got their invite? They pop in, they go to the chat room and see what's popping on the boards, the message boards, and they do the sneaker battles.
Yep.
That's the other thing missing now, those virtual sneaker battles, which everybody and their mother tries in a different way, 7 ways from Sunday. But like that genuine like sneaker battle on sneaker play was genuine. It was authentic, you know? And if sneaker play was alive now, we'd still have that running aside from all the other shit that we still use. I know we would. Because it
Yeah.
was ours. It was for the pure love of shoes and interacting with people just like you, and all the other shit was out somewhere else.
And I think that's what's missing from the game now, because like, I've seen people talk about it. We don't have spaces specifically for things anymore. Like,
No.
you still have NT, but NT has always been its own kind of thing. But if you could integrate, because Roleplay was on to something special, that mixture
Mhm.
of social media, forums, battles, and community coming together. Because it's
Yep.
like, when we talk about sneaker play, it sounds like just gladiators fighting all fucking day and dropping hard R's and all kinds of fucked up stuff. I mean, when you said anything, but it was a real community, because I just remember SP, like South Florida, the meetups, the community. Like,
Yep.
you go on one thread and a nigga's threatening to fly out and kill you. To the other thread, a nigga celebrate, like everybody celebrating somebody's kid being born.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
like, when you put it in perspective for me, for that to have just been 2 years, it feels like it was such a big part of my life,
It
because,
was only 2 years, bro. It was only two
That's
years.
crazy.
and I just think about the connections that I made on there. Like,
We
I,
still talk to people to this day that we all met through there, done
Hmm.
business. You know, lots of years of friendships, going places all over the country with folks. You know, that's the kind of stuff that's the essence of the culture that has to come back. So, you know, we've been able to, through what we do with social studies and OSD, still have the genuine connections to the community, do what we can to empower folks, create content, still give a voice to the voiceless, all of that stuff. But that big, broad platform needs to come back that everybody could come into. And I'm gonna put it out there like this: it's going to start off again when I get to relaunch it. It's going to start off again members only, invite only.
as it should.
It's not going to be one of those things where anybody and their mother could just pop right in. I ain't going for that. That ain't going to be it. It's going to be members only, and it's going to be preferred access to all the OGs.
I love that. I just want to come back in and build the community, because that's what I've been looking for. Like, it's there with Twitter, but it's not. Like, I mean, people always think I'm a shithead, but it's like, I really want to help people. I want to see them grow. I am a shithead. I want to
But
see
listen,
niggas grow.
here's the growth, right? Here's the growth, right? Not to cut your wisdom, but check this out.
Good.
We're all businessmen now,
Yeah.
businessmen and businesswomen. I did a like not too long ago. I checked around to like my network of friends and people who I met through sneaker play. A lot of them have their own businesses. We didn't have that in '05, '06, '07, but people have grown and matured to the space where they're business people. Look, you launch your own brand. You sell vintage freight. Like, could you imagine a community like that where everybody comes back into that community and they all have their own businesses?
The power.
Shoot, that was the goal of this. So I mean, well, not everyone having their own businesses, but to shed light on it, just
Yeah.
for everyone not to just be hyper consumers all the time.
I
Right.
mean, it's just hands reaching out to each other to help. That's because it's like, that's what I miss from the community. Like, fuck the shoes to an extent, because the shoes were the key. That's how we bartered. That's how we got to know each other. But like, I talk to my wife all the time. Every bit of success I have now started with SP. I got into glasses because I got SP. I moved to Canada because of SP. I can hit people from SP now that would still look out for me today, and vice versa. So
Yep.
for us to come back as mature adults and to be able to continue to help each other and help new people in the community, because we, with the access to the stuff that we have now, almost 20 years later, it's insane how far we be able to go
Yeah.
giving people help and making
Yeah.
it sure that it's focused. It's not just some random dickhead coming in scamming. No, this is a community for community.
Yeah. You see, we're living it every day. And, you know, you guys with the podcast are major contributors to that. 100 episodes in. Um, Continue to curate it in a space where, things that y'all talk about and the guests that you have on, continue to be consistent with that, because that's one of the things I see a lot of podcasts do is they throw people on for shock value that are just dumbasses. They have no real redeeming qualities as a person, but they want hot takes. They want things that'll turn into viral clips that they can just throw out there. You know what I mean? And that ain't how you make a real contribution to industry and culture and people. You don't do it that way. That's
Yeah, that's
quick.
been a
That's
shock
good for
job.
those quick. That's good for those quick, hot takes, social media clips that help you go viral and stuff. But that's no real redeeming meaning and value to that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we try to be intentional because we haven't had many guests. I think you'd be our fifth. I think you'd be our fifth or sixth guest.
So we had Old Boy, we had Sock, we had
Jerlisa,
Jerlisa.
Geeks the Soul, Tony D. So yeah, you be our sixth guest. I mean, we always try to be intentional with that. We don't always get it right, but who does?
Yeah.
But what would you say is your hardest episode y'all ever done so far? 100 episodes in. What's the hardest episode y'all ever did? Where it's like, shit, we made it through that one.
The episode where we talked to Tony D after bombing on him, not because of him. Like we said it before, he was great. All the circumstances they lined
considering
up.
all circumstances.
Yeah, the extenuating circumstances made it difficult, but he was great. It was the audience reaction from his side and from our side. Like, one thing I'm glad that we're good about is taking criticism.
Mm-hmm.
And our audience was like, why the fuck did you do that? Why would you do that? And his audience was like, fuck you. but I'm glad, like, I'm gonna say this. I'm glad that we did it because I've always wanted to show in the community. I'm a pompous ass, but I will always give someone a chance to speak back to something I said about you. Because I hate when somebody says some shit and runs from what they said. I talk too much shit to be running from like a confrontation or a conversation. We grown men. So for him to come in and speak to us, to take time out of his day to come down and speak to us, I thought that was real stand up.
Yeah, I mean, especially given his platform is a lot bigger than ours. So in a sense, however he looked at it, it was like, all right, we gotta. I just was in a pissy mood because of what I had going on that day. And then I felt like, come on, man, we could be using our time so much better. But at the same time, we did have to give him a chance to, voice his opinion on it because we did kind of put him on blast. You know what I mean? Do I think that that's the hardest episode? I don't know. I honestly don't think it was.
Okay.
For me, it wasn't the hardest. If anything, for me, I want to say the hardest episode probably was Jerlisa.
Word?
Mm-hmm. Like, not to say it was hard as in like, this is going to be a difficult interview, but more so I wanted to make sure because I feel like I was aware of everything that Jerlisa had. I was aware of a lot of the things she had done culture-wise, right? But to make sure that she got the platform to really flex.
Oh, okay.
And to kind of push, because if you remember, we kind of, like, you took care of the first half and I took care of the second half.
Yeah.
Where it was like, let's make sure that she really flaunts her resume on the show. Because I think she deserves a lot more credit than she gets.
Yeah, she's mad humble, and it's like, no. Because what you were talking about, let our guests speak. When you come on the show, we want you to be yourself. We want you to talk your shit. But more than anything, we want you to flex. Because if you come on the show, you've had to do something special in our eyes, or you deserve the platform because we did something stupid.
That too.
Yeah,
it happens.
So let me ask you this then, right? Now with the next 100 approaching, when you guys think about who you guys want to have on next, or the things that y'all want to talk about,
do
you foresee another very hard episode coming?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't
You
want you to
already
say
know
what
who.
it is or
Yeah.
who. I don't want you to say what it is or who. That was the answer I was looking for right there. That's up to y'all to coordinate the rest of that and make that pop when it's time. But
Mm-hmm.
I asked that question for that reason is because, okay, that was a couple of highlights from your first 100. Your next 100, y'all are already prepared for a couple more hard episodes. Y'all already got
Yeah.
to take the lessons from what happened in the hard episodes from the first 100 and make sure that these second 100, wherever those hard episodes pop in at, don't become a train wreck.
Yeah. Because it's funny because when you started talking about the Tinker episode, that's what I was thinking. Because when we get confirmation that hard episode is coming, I don't like the cookie cutter questions. How does it feel to be you?
Right.
How'd
Like,
you do? Like so many questions people were asking. So tell us about the three. Don't talk to me about the three tonight.
yeah, I mean, I just sit and think about it. I get tired of people telling me that you're like, can you be funny? Can you roast me? No, and I'm a nobody. So I couldn't imagine being famous. Just like, tell me about that one famous thing that you've done 20 years ago that everyone asked you about. Nigga, I don't want to answer that question again. I'm a
Mhm.
human being.
I mean, it's even more than that, though. It's not only to do your due diligence on questions that they've already been asked, but also to familiarize yourself with their talking styles.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you know this person gets very long-winded and you got to offer them the room, or if they might be kind of curt with every single answer, so you got to have a follow-up question to the follow-up question.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or
Bro.
easing someone into a conversation. Because I know a
Yeah,
lot of people
disarming.
think it's easy to get in front of a mic. And it's like, you got to have the right kind of personality in relationship with a person. Because that's the one thing I've always worried about. If we had a guest that we didn't know as well, like, would you be comfortable talking with us? And I always try to bring people in and have them to be comfortable. Like, it's crazy. This episode, I'm like, I don't need to prepare anything. I know with us talking, every time I've ever spoken with you, text, phone call, in person, conversation just flows.
Yep.
We deep in this game, so we understand that. But with other people, it's just like, I just want people to feel comfortable because I don't want you to feel like I'm gonna sound stupid on the mic. It's no
But
dumb. You can't sound
you
any
know why
dumber than I
people
do.
also you know why people also make it difficult for you to book them sometimes. If you listen to what that interview was, the last one before you,
Mhm.
be it print, be it podcast, whatever, they probably hated that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's something to take a note of, right? That person's last interview that they've done, how did that turn out in whatever format it was? Because you're going to read it and perceive it as one thing, but they actually lived it. They actually had to do it, and they're going to perceive it as another thing, right? So being able to take into full consideration that the last time they did this might not have gone right. Let me make sure I do the due diligence enough to make this person comfortable enough so that as soon as we get on, we just go. That was one of the things that a lot of people used to say about us was we got so popular because when you just jumped right in, you felt like you were in somebody's living room just kicking it.
Yeah.
You knew where your place on the couch was going to be every Wednesday, or at the dining room table, or standing in the doorway listening in. Whatever your place was every Wednesday, you had your place every Wednesday when you popped in. Your spot was there for you, right? And that was the key to what we did that made it so successful. And even that interview after we spoke to Tinker, like literally after he got off, because remember they were 3 hours behind us. He was like, "That was the best interview I've ever done. Thank you guys for having me on. That was very fun." You know how many audio downloads we have of that episode? Just take a guess.
80,000.
A little more.
Go ahead, Shad. Throw a number. I know your number's gonna be better than that bullshit he just put out.
Yeah, I was gonna say 80,000. You cut that might be a 500. That might be a 500,000 download, and that might be a low ball.
You did way better than him. We have over 800,000 downloads of that Tinker
Oh, I was in
Yeah.
the 8. All right.
Yeah, I figured it. I was like, that's probably if he got that's one of them ones. Especially you gotta think at that time.
You're right.
Like Tinker's still active. Granted, this is
What's this, 07?
2000.
2008.
He did. He came on, I think, 2010.
Oh,
Okay.
so
He
this is
came
off the
on.
heels of the 2009. Like, you got to think Tinker at that time, people kind of wanted to hear from him because he had cooled off for a bit,
Right.
design wise.
This was 2010, 2011, one of the two, because this is what we did. We originally wanted him for episode 200,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
but then we got a call. It was like
Goals.
Tinker said he can do tonight and tonight only. So we were like, shit. The way things were structured back then, we couldn't do it and bank it. It had to
Mm-hmm.
happen live, right? So Tinker was on for 198. Like, all right, cool. We still got to have somebody big for 200. It's our 200th episode. So my brother, homie Ali Shahi Muhammad from Tribe, hooked it up for me to get Fife.
I gotta go
So
back and listen
Fife,
to the episode. Rest
so
in peace,
Fife is
Fife, man.
episode 200 because Tinker was like, I got tonight and tonight only. Then we had to do 198 with him.
I mean, that's the joys of podcasting.
You know what? All right, just because you said that, now I feel like we gotta pivot a little bit. How is it going into business with Ali Shahi Muhammad, man? Because Tribe, I'm a huge Tribe fan. So
Yes, you are.
yeah, like I ain't gonna hold you. Like, I might fangirl if I ever meet Ali or Q-Tip or even Jerobi. Like, and not to say even Jerobi, like, he's still a big contribution. But rest in peace to Fife, man. I wish I could have met him and saw him perform before he passed. But how is it working with Ali Shahi Muhammad?
Well, Ali's a big supporter of what we've done for a long time. He was the one who hooked up the Fife Dog episode 200. He made that happen. So he's been well aware of all the work for OSD since those early days. He and
Mm-hmm.
I are like brothers, so he's always been in tune with what we've been doing with social studies. So when it came time to create the academy, I said to him, because he lives in LA now, he's been in LA for
Okay.
about 9 or 10 years. But when we originally, you know, had our camaraderie, on that everyday brotherly level, he was living in Brooklyn with me. So not with me, but
Yeah,
in the hood
in the
with me.
vicinity.
So um, he was well in tune with what we've always done. So when it was time to open up the academy last year, I said to him, I really want you to come in and be a part of this because it gives you your connection back to Brooklyn. Gives you back your connection to where you're from. You're out here in LA doing your thing. He and Adrian, they've done the Luke Cage score for when Luke Cage was on Netflix. When that
Mm-hmm.
dropped, it broke the internet. They've done a couple other great shows, doing a lot of TV and film scoring, him and Adrian Young. So with that grind going on out there, which was part of his plan to go and, reinvent himself and do that, I said, I got to pull you back in so that you have your roots still here in BK. So when I open this academy, I want you to come in as a co-founding partner and help us with this, to whatever capacity you can lend your star power, influence, and good grace to it. And he signed on for that. So
That's
he's a
beautiful.
co-founding partner for the Social Studies Community Academy for that reason. Um, and he's supportive of stuff. He's in tune with everything that's happening. Like, if someone approaches him on the street and be like, "Hey, what's going on with that sneaker academy thing?" Like, he knows what's going on. He can tell you. He can't be like, "Oh, it's in Brooklyn. It's doing great. We're really doing some cool things," and keep it pushing. He knows what's happening. He knows exactly what the initiatives and partnerships and what kind of courses and shit we're offering and stuff like that. He knows it all. So it's been good. I mean, it's a natural thing for him to be involved because of our relationship. So it's not too arduous a task to have him involved.
Okay.
No.
As the OG, right? Because you spoke on a lot of things, especially like just sneaker play. Are there some things that, no pun intended, that you are critical of that you see in the sneaker community now, aside from like
Oh,
the bad
absolutely.
interviews?
I love right now that this is gonna sound crazy to say this, but I love right now that Nike's coming and suing everybody.
No, that sounds
Nah,
good.
that's not too bad because some of these people deserve to be sued.
I love it because as someone who me and my homie D Wells had to sit and find an original way to carve out our place and our legacy in this business.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be that easy for you to mooch off somebody else's success and create your own business model where you're hitting people for thousands of
Oh man, it's
dollars.
freezing on us.
That's a piggyback over somebody else's
All right,
success,
he'll come back in a
right?
second. But okay,
Here we
go.
We back.
You, yeah, I'm here. It shouldn't be that easy for you to just set up a business model where you piggyback off of somebody else's success. And I think that guys have gotten away with it for a long time. We'll show you how to make a Jordan 1. Why do I need to pay you X amount of thousands of dollars to show me how to make a Jordan 1 when I could just go buy one from the people who actually make it? Because ours is better than theirs. Really? Well, how about you just make a better shoe, period, and not put a swoosh on it? Let's try that. And a lot of people don't meet that challenge, right? So, I had been told, we're in 2024 now. I had been told in late 2021, 2022 by folks who I was talking to at Nike that they were going to start suing people because of the 50th anniversary. And they were going to create the narrative of giving you the highlight reel of the first 50 years of what we've done. And we're going to lead the charge on what the next 50 looks like through tech plays with the metaverse. And all. This is what people were telling me internally at Nike that was the narrative. So if you're going to enter the space of the metaverse and NFTs and all that, you have to protect your IP. Right? So they already started lining up all of the darts to start firing at people to protect their IP because of the new spaces that they were going to venture into with the swoosh. And a lot of people didn't even pay attention to it. But in 2018, Nike trademarked the term crypto kicks.
I didn't know that.
2018.
Oh, froze up on us again.
2018.
But
You hear me? I'm here.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
we can
So
hear
you
you.
were saying
Y'all hear
they
me?
trademark crypto kicks.
They trademarked the term crypto kicks in 2018. 2018. That was 2 years before NFTs got popular.
Right.
So what did they know that the rest of us didn't know, right? They was going to make a play. So I'm not surprised to see 2022, 2023, 2024 people getting sued. I knew it was coming, and they deserve it.
And I hope they burn in hell.
Nah, this is the talk that we need to have because people be giving pushback. Well, Nike's just trying to take down the black man. They don't want to see. My nigga,
Listen.
You don't build an empire by letting bottom feeders play with your name
and your IP.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we offer now as an extension of social studies core curriculum that Shad took years ago, we now have a course we offer called IP Science, Intellectual Property Science. And the person who I partner with that teaches that, I assist them in teaching this course. She's an IP expert. So when she created this curriculum, and I added some context from the sneaker space to it, this course is giving you a full history of patents and trademarks. What is IP? How do you protect it? How do you make money off of it? And what happens if someone steals your IP, or what happens if somebody accuses you of stealing their IP? Like, we go through the whole gambit of it. This is something that's never been taught before.
Right.
Because of that.
See, this is the part of the game that we really need because I think a lot of people grew up on the wild west of the internet where you could play with people's names, you could play with IPs, you could play with logos, or they still think it's like early streetwear where your brand is small enough where you could flip the Versace logo and not get your ass sued.
Right.
And it's like now, because like I was talking about it earlier with that picture of Steph Curry shooting over that giant French nigga.
Over Wemby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And somebody took that picture and put it on the shirt. It was like, this is hard. It's on my website right now. And I'm just like, nigga, I hope that shirt don't blow up because everything you made plus more is going to get taken from you. You don't own the license to that shirt.
At all. Shoot, Cam, the infamous picture with Cam is in the pink mink with the cell phone. He ended up getting sued by the photographer
Yeah.
yeah, I want to say like last year.
Probably so.
And that picture is iconic and it's of Cam, but he couldn't
He don't
use it
own it.
because he doesn't own it.
A lot of people don't know the rules of IP. So they're out here creating businesses and selling things in mass, setting up e-commerce sites and everything, and just bastardizing other people's IP to sell and make money off of what was already successful. And my argument to people on that is, all right, you want to go ahead with that, oh, Nike's just trying to stop black business or stop young creatives. If the shoe wasn't Nike, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't see you knocking off Fila or Skechers to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you choose an Air Force One or an Air Jordan 1? Why didn't you take some other type of shoe to knock off and create your business model? Show us how to make a Skechers shape up. Can't do that, right? It doesn't hit, right? Doesn't work, right? So these folks already proved the point of the fact that they know what they're doing when they create these things, right? But then
Right.
when the company puts the kibosh on it, now they want to cry, oh, coming after the black business, come after young creators. Nike's broke, so now they coming after everybody to do it. Shut that bullshit up and make your own shit.
This is for everybody. I don't want y'all to see. This is why I fucks with this man. This man
This is,
spits gospel.
I mean, people look at the shoes that they bootleg, right?
Yeah.
They know exactly what they're doing. That's why, because I went on a rant about that. Like, dog, if your whole business is built off of someone else's work, you built your your foundation on sand. Because once the chickens come home to roost, my nigga, you're cooked. If you can't move a model that's your own after making some fakes, you never had anything popping. You were just selling fake Jordans. You were just selling fake Air Forces.
And you know who I'm proud of in that space? Mosh.
Yeah. Mosh's models are very good. They're very solid. For him to come from customizing to putting out his own models, yeah, he did that shit. And he
Mosh
led the
is
way.
the prime example of someone who he was like, yo, okay, I'm gonna still get people to hit me up and ask me to do custom work, custom cleats for MLB and NBA and NFL and all of that. I'm gonna still do that work if they hit me. I got great relationships with those folks, sure. But I think it's time after, anywhere between 15 to 20 years Mosh been doing it. He was like, yo, I'm gonna make my own shoe. And I think that if I put it out the right way, people are gonna rock with it. And they did.
Yeah, Mosh, John Geiger's another one.
Yeah, that 04 hit.
Yeah, the 004. Yeah, that's a fire model.
But I don't rock with him either because look at the GFO1.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So
I've never given we cool now. I've never liked that, and I still don't like that. But I respect that he makes his own.
But why didn't he just start off that way?
I mean, the thing is, right? This is the only reason I'm going to shoot anyone bail, but it's looking at something like, well, this is the winning formula. If someone tells you 1 + 1 = 2, then you're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to do 1 + 1 = 2. You're not going to go, well, let me get to 4 - 3 to equal 1 or whatever they got to figure it out. Like they just want to go with something that's already a winning, a familiar form, a familiar formula or whatever, and then work from there.
But here's why he don't get a pass from me on that. He had a relationship with Nike through Darrell Revis.
Yeah, we know about that.
So he knows full well what he was dealing with. Because if Nike were to take and bastardize his own client's IP, he would have been all over it on Darrell Revis's behalf. So why was it okay to flip that and now take an Air Force One and you're okay with it saying that there's no way it would be confused with an Air Force One. We use premium. Just make your own shoe, bro. From jump. Just don't do it.
I mean, that's where I've always had a problem for a lot of stuff because it's like when he did the misplaced checks, I thought that was cool as fuck. It was like it was labeled as a custom.
Why did you think that was cool? Because you didn't see it before, even though I saw it before?
I mean, when it came out, it hit. It came out. It was right place, right time. I love a high. I love colors. I thought that was fire. And I've always said I want to see people take and make their own thing. Nigo did it already. He came out. He gave us the colorful joints that we wanted that we weren't necessarily getting from Nike. Now it don't work no more.
That only worked back then because Nike didn't do what they needed to do to protect their IP.
Yeah, I mean it's wild that they didn't sue them niggas until now. Like I
Because
thought for
they didn't have
sure.
their IP. Because with certain shoes, they didn't have their IP house in order, which again is another reason why a lot of the other folks that came along and did that exist. Because once the word got out that they don't have their IP house in order for particular shoes, it was open season.
Yeah,
But
that's why
still,
the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
but still, now you've made it your business to still create a business model and mooch off of somebody else's work. You know what I'm saying? Like Bruce Kilgore designed an Air Force One in '81, yo. Came out in '82. Like, seriously? That's the business model we're running with? I'm gonna remake a shoe that came out in '82. And I'm gonna get paid. I don't need to do my own thing. I can't respect it. I can never respect it, and I won't ever respect it.
Hey, I respect your disrespect to it because it is. I mean, it's crazy because I see out there when I was younger. I thought it was kind of cool because streetwear was out there. Everything was getting flipped. You were stealing logos. You were stealing catchphrases. Oh, they was just straight up stealing art. And you
Yeah.
thought, great artists steal. And then I grew up and when I the first time I saw my shirt got bootlegged and I'm like, what the fuck? And that's just it was mainly because my face is on the shirt. I couldn't imagine having the hottest shoe in the game and this niggas just, you built the whole cottage industry off of my work. Something I did 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago. What the fuck are you doing? So, yeah.
This is what I'm saying, right? It's like we put time in for this logo. We put time in for the OSD logo. Put time in for both versions of it, and made sure it was original and stood out. So, I really don't have any sympathy for people who get the legal kibosh put on them when it's time for them to, pony up for violating people's IP. It's just unacceptable. There's too many different ways now where you can make your own shoes. Too many different opportunities to create your own podcast with your own lane, your own streetwear brand. Look at what you're doing, right? You're doing it. You put yourself through the paces to make it, right?
Yeah.
And make sure that you're not fucking violating somebody else's IP while you do it, because they're gonna come for you.
That's always what I go through because it's like I was actually about to talk about that on the timeline. I got folders of things with art that I've used for ideas that I have the link. So as soon as it goes to production, I can pay for the license. I can pay for the license for the font because I think Nike got into trouble for not paying the right license for some sort of font. And it's like that shit will come back to bite you. My worst fear is that I become successful and get sued because I did something I wasn't supposed to.
You mean you don't want to be Robin Thicke?
Oh, hell no.
Fuck no. I know you want it. Yeah.
My
Robin,
man, I mean that should be a prime example, right? That was the music version of what people do with the Air Force One.
Tyrese gonna get sued today.
Oh yeah, Marvin Gaye family gonna beat his ass for that.
That was literally the music version of what people do to an Air Force One and an Air Jordan 1 right now. You take that song? You take that song?
Okay, so question. This might be a little touchy because we did speak earlier about this gentleman, right? I think you know who I'm already referencing.
Go for it.
So how, if you feel that way about John Geiger, why is that same feeling not about Saya?
From what I see from Saya, I see original work.
Now we see original work. I do understand that his foundation was he was doing customs and he was working with the brands.
He started as a customizer. That's correct. But look at what he's morphed into, right? He has a platform which still people aren't replicating. He has a membership model for people to buy his shoes. He has a subscription model.
However, some of his models were
very derivative.
Yeah. Like,
Absolutely. But I think he knows where to skirt the line of a straight rip versus a straight knock, original inspired by versus a straight rip. I think he knows the difference. And
yeah, I
it,
mean, he's definitely hip to IP. Like, he does enough to where I can't get knocked for this, because I know he is that person to uh, call up Kai's, or call up, probably to even let John Geiger know, like, yo, no, that's not gonna be it. Like, you gonna get hit for that.
yeah, he had a big beef with Geiger. He went out. He actually named the model called the Vulture
The Vulture, yeah.
after John Geiger, called the Culture Vulture. Like that was a personal beef those two had, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was because of whatever history that he knows about John Geiger with the creativity or lack thereof in terms of what he was putting out.
Mm-hmm.
That was their personal beef that was public and it was for all of us to see. But you got to look at it like this: Dev and Saya have never been sued for IP infringement.
So
Facts.
he does business smart. He does.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
very smart. He's very smart. Even though I think both of us, speaking for Davon and I, we're not the biggest fans of,
Not
I
in the
guess,
slightest.
the pre-model order. I think that's one of the big gripes. Just
Well, I mean,
because,
pre-order for certain things versus what's readily available is an option that he has, which speaks to the success of his business. He has models that you can buy as a member through the subscription, and
Mhm.
he has models that he wants to test out through the pre-order. I think it's smart and it's actually pretty cool that he's successful enough in his business where he can do both. Because there's some people who literally can't do both. They either have to do a pre-order in order for the shoes to get made, like Big Baller Brand, or there's people who simply have to hustle to get you to buy their shoes through e-commerce. And the fact that he has the flexibility to do both is actually commendable because if if you can't do that, you don't do that. And he does it.
Right. All
He's
right.
running a very successful business. Regardless of whether we like the shoes or not, you can't knock the fact that number one, he's never been sued for IP infringement by any of the brands. And number two, he has so many offerings, clothing and footwear,
Right.
that and you sign up to become, a member in his community or a subscriber, you're not just gonna get one or two knockoff derivatives of somebody else's shit. He has a bunch of different models of shoes
That he
that you can
does.
pick from.
I'm
You know?
actually a big fan of the stuff that he's putting out as of late. Like, it's a shoe that looks like it's a cartoon shoe.
I
But I
haven't
mean,
seen it.
but speaking objectively, whether you like the shoes or not, let's just talk about the business model of how he presents what he's selling.
Right.
You can sign up as a member. You can, if he occasionally wants to test a shoe out, he'll put it out for pre-order, which I don't think he does that a lot of that anymore. I don't think he does it at all. But then what happens also is he gives the members first dibs. And
Right.
after a certain amount of time, once the members have all bought up whatever the number is, whatever the excess inventory is that's left, he puts that out and it's open to the public.
Right.
There's nobody else out here that's an independent footwear brand doing that.
So you got to look at it a little bit different.
Yeah, because I was about to say the only people I see moving like that is like Kith, and Kith isn't. I mean, it's not a footwear brand; they're just collaborators. So no, that makes total sense. I think this might be the first time this nigga's been talked about showing a positive light.
He explained it like way differently than what we know as. Dev, he doesn't really have too much patience. So I think him getting that across wouldn't even come that way. Not like you just explained it so eloquently.
I think it would. I think you have to have a conversation with him. I think he would be a great guest. But you have to again, you got to craft your questions in a way where you want him to tell the public, your listeners, what they really need to know about what his brand is all about, right?
Right.
Objectively speaking, everybody we've had on, we haven't liked all their work.
Yeah.
We haven't liked everything they've created or made as a contributor to whatever industry it is. We've liked some of it. We've held some of it in a high regard. But the reason why we've always been so successful with everyone that we had on was the fact that we approached them objectively so that they could talk about what they're doing through the eyes and ears of the people besides us who would be listening.
Okay. Thank you
Had
for
nothing
that.
to do with us.
The Jedi Master.
Yeah, that was a bar. That was a bar.
It had nothing to do with us, and that's where your longevity is going to come from. Is every time y'all sit down in front of those mics and you got a guest on, the conversation is around what everybody else who's going to listen to this live or later is going to get from it.
Yeah, I mean that's what we. I mean, we want them to show themselves, and see, that's why we had to have you on for 100, because you always come with an interesting perspective, and even with guests that we may not have liked, it's always good to get a better understanding, even for yourself or the audience, to understand where they're coming from or why things happen away. Because there's been times that someone I didn't like finally explain why they did something. It's like it makes sense, or gives you a perspective that you never saw, even if you don't think it's good. Because there's a lot of shit I think is trash, but I can understand why people may go for it or how it goes once I take the time to actually listen to it.
But here's where your legacy is built, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might have that guest on and have them on for 2 hours and still not like a damn thing about them after you finish. But at least you've provided a platform and you curated the right experience for everybody else to hear that.
I mean, that's important. I mean, that's the whole point of having someone on, because, like we were saying before, I don't want to go to a podcast and just hear the host talk over them or ask them cookie cutter questions. Even if it gets contentious or you disagree, at the end of the day, I came here to learn something. So if I can learn something from them, even if it's like, you still suck, but you suck a little bit less because I
But let me
understand
tell
you
you,
now.
but let me tell you how many times I've had to bite my tongue and not jump in just because they said something that I disagree with, because I needed it to get out there for everybody else, the thousands of people who are going to listen and download later. I needed them to hear it. And if I jump in and cut them off at the pass just because they give it, I'm compelled to give a knee jerk reaction. I've just cut off a valuable piece of content and experience for my listeners. So you got to give people a platform to be exactly who they are, and without the tussle and the wrestle that you have. That's what a lot of the shock value podcasting and shows is right now. Is the minute somebody says something, there's that knee jerk reaction to counter them and throw in your view, and you had them on as a guest not to share your view, but for everyone to hear theirs.
Yeah. I mean, who did you have to bite your tongue with the most?
Hmm.
If you can share that without any
You're talking
issues.
365 episodes. I'll say it's at least more than 10 people who have come on and said some shit where I'm like, what? Remember, we were on audio, so you can't see facial expressions over the phone, and you can't, reveal those in the chat. Remember, we were all phone. You
Mm-hmm.
know, a lot of the time, it was before we moved over when Google Hangouts reached out to us and said, we love your show. We want you to move over to video. That's when we were like, okay, that was around 2012. Yeah, that was 2012. So yeah, Shad, you're actually right. Tinker was around 2009, 2010. Because by 2012, we were already on Google Hangouts. And when we got on Google Hangouts, we were like, you know what? We talk a lot of shit. We give a lot, we create a wow scene, and people can walk past us in the street and not know who we are, not see us unless they actually personally know us.
Mm-hmm.
So let's show our faces now. So that was when Google asked us to come on and join Hangouts. And that was when we moved to video, which is, still hundreds of episodes on our YouTube channel now from when we went up on Hangouts. And, it was cutting edge tech, giving you lower thirds, and you can insert things and pull things out. And, it was really cool. But, typical Google, they kept fucking with it and made it start to get really frustrating to run a show on it. And that was when we started thinking about what's the end of the road for us with this, because the podcast space was getting too crowded.
Right.
And we decided to just, okay, 365 episodes means someone will have an episode every day for a year of us with our madness. That'd be a good one to fold it on. So we ended up coming back and doing 2 special episodes after that. We did like Scoop Jackson. We got one with Wilson Smith and a couple of other ones that we did. So really, we did 367 episodes, but like the core 365, like that was the end on Google Hangouts. And I say all that to say, when we were in the audio realm, so from 2007 to 2011, there was a lot of people coming on and saying shit where I was like, what? You are bugging, my man. But, again, the minute you get into that war with someone, you detract from creating a quality podcast now, because now people are listening to two people argue. They're not listening to someone come on as a guest and share their experience in the industry and their viewpoints and all of that. So there was a lot of times I had to bite my fucking tongue on shit, and just not for the sake of making sure everybody else gets to hear it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, we're pretty good at like holding our face, because me and this nigga give each other a quick dart. It's like, oh no, this nigga's bugging.
That's the beauty of working with Davon, is like we have so many, we can just read each other so well. Like we don't have to communicate verbally. We could just, like, I could tap him or I could move my elbow or something real subtle, and Davon will acknowledge it. He'll be like, yeah, I got you. Like,
but I think you guys' best days are ahead of you, man, in terms of, who you're going to have on, the things that are changing in the industry that make for good subject matter that you guys need to get, on top of and be a voice for. And just, people listening to your podcast and going, yo, I would love to be a guest on your. People used to stop us on the street and be like, yo, when am I going to be on OSD? We'd be like, yo, who the fuck are you? I'm sorry. You know who I am. You know what we do, but I honestly don't even know you right now. Who are you? And then you get into that conversation. Oh, I'm so-and-so. I work for this brand. And like, oh, okay, let's have a conversation about it first. You're just not going to pop on one night just because you know we on.
yeah.
It ain't going to go like that. It ain't going to be no, and introducing. Nope.
Now, I've started to face that, because it's like, I don't try to be Hollywood to people, but I'm just trying to think what would make the best show, and why would we bring someone on? Because it's like, I might be cool if you hear, but will it make sense to translate it to the show? And is anyone going to want to hear this? Because I'm not just going to bring my homeboy on like, yo, this is the nigga I met down the street.
Yeah, like the only time they had that happen was when I did the show with my, like, somebody who I grew up with, but that was to explain how I even got into sneakers in the first place. So it was a little, the context of it.
I was sick.
Yeah, plus Davon was sick. Davon was like, yo, you gotta put out an episode, my nigga, because the people need to be fed. The streets need to be fed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That sounds like something he would say too. The streets need to be fed, shot.
Yeah, so
get the people what they need.
Yeah, we had to cook something up. So, thankfully my homeboy, he agreed, and we still gotta do that other episode with him, man. Because I
mean, that's what I like, but that's also what I love about having a show, is that we can bring people on and make it make sense. Like, one of my favorite episodes when we had Geeks to Soul, that was a aimless episode, but it was just niggas who love shoes celebrating being niggas that love shoes.
Right.
And that's the essence that I always want to bring, because I just remember growing up, I didn't have people to really talk shoes with, because I wasn't into Jordans. The niggas just got Jordans because they were Jordans. But when I found SP, because I tried Nike Talk and I hated Nike Talk, but when I found SP, and it's like, niggas is just sitting up here having these wild conversations about obscure ass shoes that no one in my immediate vicinity knew, it felt good. And it's like, that's what I want to bring, like that culture. And I'm always happy to listen to people talk. Like, I'm excited. Like, I'm still excited. Like, it's the first time we ever spoke, to have you come up here and drop gems. And I'm glad that we have the platform where we can have people on that we think are interesting, or possibly in the future have more contentious episodes with people we don't agree with.
No.
Listen,
if it makes sense.
Yeah, like
we're not gonna argue.
No, for example, like if we interview Saya, I know that's gonna be like I would like to get him into a disarming space, but I know there are gonna be some questions that might rub him the wrong way. And you don't want to just straight up nix the interview. Like, no, let's press forward.
Here's the question, right?
Mm-hmm.
On those questions you already have in your mind you think will rub him the wrong way. Is there a way to ask those questions where it wouldn't rub him the wrong way?
I believe so. I think what the issue would be, because he's a smart guy. Like I would never say, oh, he's like stupid. No, he's an intelligent guy, super intelligent. But I think it's more so how, like, what would be the point of asking said question? Like, would he feel like it's trying to, like, yo, what are you trying to pull?
Well, I think it's naturally with how we speak. I don't think anyone would feel like it's an attack. I don't think we've ever done a show or done something to someone on the show where it felt like an attack. I feel like we would find a way to ask it and give him the space, even if it upset him, to get it out there.
But also, you got to put it into context too, that we only know him from like IG.
Yeah,
he is on defense mode all the time on IG.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that because he already always expresses himself in that way on that space, why have him on your show to do the same thing?
But we wouldn't.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the thing to keep front of mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put him on so that he's going to talk about Psy Collective in a light that is totally contrary to what people could already get from IG. Because otherwise, you didn't do anything. All you did was just rehash IG.
Yeah, and I mean, I think about this. It's a different format because a live stream is different than sitting down for like. I mean, a podcast just feels like a 2-way, 3-way, 4-way phone call. So I think it would put people in a different space because some people that we don't like that we had on here were completely different on here than they were on the timeline. Mm-hmm. Niggas invented a whole new character to come on the show to express themselves, and we let them cosplay as a broke version of me. But it made it was what? Nigga put a do-rag on and now he a different person.
Right.
I'm not saying that to be a dickhead. I'm just saying we will give you the space to talk because talking to a nigga through text.
All I'm saying is this. I don't know who you're talking about, but
yeah, don't worry about it.
Here's the question. Was that person a different person in front of you, or is the person who's on IG actually the fake person?
The person, you know what? I'll say this about the gentleman, because Davon is already.
No, I'll be honest.
No, I mean, I feel like the person who is on IG that we see via social media, I believe if that is a caricature, I would want to be seen in that light. The person that was shown to us, I think they want to be more of that, but the route that they've gone, they can't really afford to be that, right?
See, so there it is, right there, right? There it is. You've exposed it, right? Now, here's something that I said all the time, right? If it weren't for sneakers, there's a lot of people out here who are just shitty people.
Yeah.
Sneakers allowed them to come into a community and a space of people who aren't shitty, who actually hold some values and some respect and manners for other people. Sneakers let in a whole bunch of assholes and low quality, low frequency people.
Yo, why you breathing that hard?
Because this is why I fucks with Pape. So man. I know, Pape, you're not on Twitter. You're not in the spaces. I've actually talked about this. And there's a lot of people who've come in, they're culture vultures, there's carpet baggers, they're just weird, rich weirdos who saw a community that they could buy their way in. Because
Uncle Chrissy, Trey Block.
Oh, no, I'm not naming names. I'm just saying it's not even just them. It's a lot of other people all throughout the community who came in and bought expensive sneakers and then started cosplaying like they cared because they knew that it was a way to sneak into the game. And those are the people,
Absolutely.
especially, I would never have on because it would just be a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah, I agree. There's some people who are just out of bounds and off limits. But you think about that time frame of the 2010s in particular. Now, I've been in sneakers 39 years. I've seen the entire cycle of people come and go 3 or 4 times already.
Mm.
But in the 2010s, that was when it started happening. Like it's already happened since the 2010s a couple of times already. And it's
mm-hmm.
about to happen again, right? Because the game is about to change again. And it's just shitty people. Like they revealed themselves to be really shitty, low quality, low frequency people who they finally revealed themselves once they got tired of being in the shoes. So that's
Mm.
really who the kind of people are that, once you identify them, you just keep them off on the sidelines. You don't have any engagement with them. Like, I'm not even going to hold you. It was some of those people who were, we had embraced and put on OSD with us. And we realized that, yo, you take the sneakers away, you're a fucking asshole. Goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, it's
you know?
alarming. It's alarming how many people, once you look deeper into them, it's like there was no love here. You just had money. Or you had
Yeah.
access and you
Access or money, yes. To
yeah.
get the shoes that would get them the attention.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that disappoints me though is you got decades on me. But for me to be in the position that I'm in with the time that I've been here and to see it, it blows my mind that people don't see it. And then when you call it out, they call you the asshole. Or maybe it's
Hmm.
just me because of my delivery.
No, that's what happens. That's what happens. This happened to me before too. Because I call it like QAnon. Like the QAnon people are so invested in that bullshit that now that all the information has come out that it's all bullshit, that you've been following fucking manufactured fallacies. You've been so far invested in it that you can't turn back now. And it's the same thing with some of these folks that these young folks idolize in the sneaker industry. They've
Mm.
invested so much into dick riding these folks that now once the truth comes out, they can't turn back. They still got to cling to these people's balls because otherwise it's going to be shameful for them. They can't face the shame of being, yo, I was really riding with that guy and he's an asshole. No,
Woo!
they got to find a way to still stay on that person's balls.
It's the saddest thing because it's like you preaching about a number of people in this space. I mean, it really fucked me up seeing the kids. Like I was trying to help kids with the Discord stuff when the cook groups are really out here. I
Hmm.
watch kids get scammed by their sneaker idols. And I'm
Hmm.
like, if you don't charge back, this nigga's like, oh, I ordered these shoes in a size 10. He sent me a 9.5 and it came covered in the scuffs. If you don't get your money back, nigga.
Listen, I think one of the scandals that has everybody
Excuse
licking
me.
their wounds quietly, and you got people quietly balled up crying at home, was when homeboy from Zade Kicks got caught.
Man.
Oh,
ISO.
nah, I went crazy with that because I got introduced to Zade Kicks during the pandemic and someone explained it to me and I was like, so either he's stealing the shoes or he's selling fakes. His business model makes no fucking sense. And these kids argued me down. You're a hating ass old man. You don't
Let
know
me
what the
tell you
fuck you
something.
talking about.
Let me tell you something right now. I know someone that invested thousands of dollars in working with that guy thinking they were getting real shoes.
You got
Live,
fucked.
live blocks away from me where I'm sitting talking to y'all that invested thousands of dollars in that clown. And this person used to show up sometimes, and I'd be like, them shits ain't out yet. How the fuck you get those? You ain't connected like that. So, said person, we were out somewhere, and he pulls up his phone. And he shows, he's like, yo, this is where I'm getting my joints from now. And he pulls up the Zade Kicks website. And I looked at it, I was like, this is where you buying shoes from now? He was like, yeah, yeah, he's out there in Portland. I looked at him. I said, "Nigga, are you sure?" So he said, "Yeah, I've been working with him for a while now. I've been getting stuff from him for a while." And I was like, "Again, I ask you, are you sure?" He was like, "Yeah, yeah." A couple months later, the whole Zade Kicks thing came out, and he fessed up to being one of the folks who was getting caught by this guy.
Oh,
So I already know he's got a fucking closet full of band. Rest in peace, Dallas Penn. I know he's got a closet full of Bandulu
Rest in
Jordans.
peace.
damn.
See, that's where like I try to be nice to niggas, but it's like y'all too old to be still falling for the finesse. Like,
But this is why I say Zade Kicks is an example of what I said about a low quality person who has been allowed to infiltrate the sneaker business and sneaker community and play around with people in the culture who just want these shoes and love these shoes. And he just basically robbed people for tens of millions of dollars. I looked at his Instagram after this shit happened because I had no intention of ever fucking having this guy on my radar or my social media feed or anything. I had already heard. But then when the scandal broke, I went to his IG and I was like, man, this dude was getting them.
Mm-hmm.
This dude is posting Lambos, Ferraris, mansions, helicopters. I'm like, yo, sneakers don't do that on an everyday.
niggas wanna they wanna believe the lifestyle. Cause I just look at it like that nigga, that African nigga Hush Puppy posting all that shit, and it's just like, y'all really think this nigga getting it from real estate, from construction?
For real. Like but people have invested so far into Zade, that their pride wouldn't allow them to admit that they were being taken, even though they sort of knew. There were people who were quiet about the fact that they weren't getting shoes. Oh, maybe they're just back ordered. Maybe there's a delay because they're so hard to get. And like people were talking themselves into justifying being suckers.
I see it every day. I used to do anti-scam, and I'm just explaining to niggas like, once you got to do mental gymnastics, just say the money gone. Because I
Yeah.
mean, when the shit broke, I went into one of those spaces trying to help people, tell them how to get this shit straight. Some old nigga from New York came in there and talked for 30 minutes until I told him to shut up. Because he's like, he wouldn't shut the fuck up. He was just, Zade did right by me, and he sold me some band ones, and I'm like, but at the end of the day, nigga, how much money did you lose? Like, fuck, shut the fuck up. You justify the past is the past, nigga. A nigga can help you every day, then the next day stab you in the stomach. You be like, he stabbed me because his blood sugar was low. Like, nigga, if you don't give a fuck, you're not right with all the Snickers. Like, nigga,
I kept asking him too much questions and his blood sugar was low. That's how he reacted.
That's crazy.
nigga, insulin made him violent. Like, nah.
Yeah, but that's the stuff that needs to stay in the outside. Once low quality, low frequency people are identified, they got to be kept on the outs. And a lot of people on social media are giving these platforms to these low quality, low frequency people just because we're talking about shoes. And if they would just stop to think, let's take shoes out of this equation. Is this fucking dude a good person? Would I
No.
fucking sit and drink a beer with this guy?
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
I fucking shoot free throws with this guy in a fucking park? If the answer is no, then why are sneakers the justification for you sidelining this person's shitty qualities?
Because he has the best shoe. Like, that's actually, it's funny. There's a war going on in the community, the Twitter community right now, between a
Uh-huh.
group of leakers and a guy that is actually connected with Jordan Brand, with AMM, and they're fighting. The sneaker leakers are fighting with him, and I'm like, you're fighting with the guy who actually, and it's not alleged. He's at Nike. He's been invited to the campus. He works with them. They acknowledge him. And you're fighting with him about information, whether or not it's factual. And I just look at them and it's just like the question you asked, if it wasn't for shoes, would people like them? And I look at it, it's like some maybe, but most no.
Shout out to Geeks to Soul
Yeah,
and
shout out.
Brandonian.
Brandonian Z sneakers. Like, it's just crazy to me because it's like, when I talk to the niggas from Geeks to Soul, we don't even talk about shoes for the most part. We're usually just laughing about shit. And I think that's where, again, I've labeled myself as a sneaker outsider. A lot of these people, and the same, that's why I love the SP. We got the people like that the fuck up out the community. Oh, guys, I have flums. Yeah, but you called me a nigger.
Yo,
We don't want you here.
Yo, that is so. You know how many people we ran out of SP?
The only person who stuck around despite that was White Kobe. That nigga was weird, but he was like, fuck it, I'm here. But that's what, like, that's why I just look at it, because it's like, I don't hate people because I'm a hater. I mean, that's part of it. But it's like, if I can't talk to you outside of shoes, if I see the only good things you talk about are shoes, everything else is contentious and not like oh, well, I disagree, blah, blah, blah. You start fights with everything, or no one likes your takes on anything else. Like, nigga, that's crazy that the sneakers are the only thing making you worthwhile.
Yep. That's crazy. But we literally used to run people out of SP. Remember that? We get the flaming on somebody so bad, and then like the next day, user not available.
Yeah. Gone. SP all day. I used to, I love that. I hate it when people try to come. Well, I have 100 pairs of Jordan 1s. And?
Back then, when somebody says some stupidness like that, we'd be like, that's about all you got?
I mean, but it's not, it's just, again, what you're actually contributing to the culture, man. It's like, you just gotta be a real person. You just can't buy a whole bunch of shit, which is what people were doing. They're thinking, I got a pair of Dunks and I'm cool now. Like,
but I mean, a lot of people tend to fall in line when they see someone that's supposed to be a leader. And it's like, my nigga, you're not a leader because you have shoes. You just got money. Or you're connected. Or you're a good thief.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Listen, I have right now, like actively, like over 39 years, I've said this in multiple interviews. I've owned over 4,000 pairs of shoes. D has probably owned close to 6,000 pairs of shoes in 39 years. In my active rotation of shoes right now that I use for teaching, exhibitions, and just to wear is around, 3 to 400. In those 3 to 400, I have about 40 different brands of sneakers.
Sheesh. Goals.
40.
That's real love.
Yeah, because
40 different brands of shoes. Now, if you said to somebody tomorrow, I have 40 different brands of shoes, they'd be like, 40? There's 40 different brands of sneakers on the planet? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Because people only know 5.
Right.
They only know 5 brands. That's what's crazy, right? And then when you show up with something different on and you provide some context and perspective on it, they're like, this is that serious? Like, yeah, it's that serious.
Nigga, it's a lifestyle.
Dog. I tell you, like, I am waiting for the day I can get some hiking boots from, was it DME?
Yeah, Dean, yep.
Yes, that brand cranks out pure fire. And I'm like, it's a black-owned brand. That's one of the things I wish we could do. Like, I wanted to give spotlights to black-owned brands and say, like, we wore their products, even if, like, it's a plus that they're black-owned brand, but they pump out great quality stuff.
Yeah.
How can we not support
it? They're fire. That's real quality work right there. And that's something that you can put your listeners on to,
Yeah.
Reach out to the folks at the brand, holler at the marketing folks, find out who it is at the brand that you can have on and talk to them and get them here in front of your audience. That's something that even we weren't able to do. We wanted to get to Timberland in all those years when we were on. Timberland wouldn't talk to us. And that was before VF owned them. Timberland wouldn't talk to us. And the other brand that was scared to have people come on for us was New Balance.
What?
We never had
connection.
we never had people from New Balance on the show. People from New Balance were scared to come on the show. And they told us, because you guys are going to ask questions we don't have answers for. They told us that.
But you know what? I can see why a lot of brands are like that, and I feel like a lot of brands are still moving like that. But it's like, Doug, if you're gonna be out there, I'd rather I don't know than silence, because we're at the age now where you can really capture people and talk with the audience, because that's how you really get people invested. Because I know now that Nike isn't the end all be all. I'm much more open to different brands than I've ever been before. And hearing someone from the brand speak about what they're doing or why things are moving the way they are would definitely help me to be more comfortable with going with them or be an introduction to them. Like, I was lucky that my brother was a lot more experimental with shoes, so I got to know Asics, New Balance, and other places like that. But for someone who may not have had that, to hear someone from those brands speak and not necessarily a collaborator would be amazing.
The only person we ever had on from Adidas, and it was prior to the end of the show, close to the end, was Wexler from Adidas.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right before Kanye got signed.
Mm.
Because Kanye's first product came out in 2015. And
Mm-hmm.
his end of his deal with Nike was 2013. And in between that time, that was when the news came out that Kanye had signed to Adidas. And John Wexler was responsible for that. We had the opportunity to talk to him, and it was only around that. That was the only person from Adidas we were ever able to have on the show. But New Balance was, we've listened to your show, we've listened to your guest and the questions you ask and all of that. We're not coming on the show because we're not ready to answer the questions you're going to ask.
How did that make you feel as a show? Like, is that affirmation that you guys are actually headed in the right direction with what you were trying to put out?
This was already 4 or 5 years into us doing the show. So we absolutely positively knew that after that kind of conversation, it was confirmation that the brands are scared of us. And they're only going to have somebody come on with answers.
Yeah, let's just take this to Complex.
But you
You
know
know
what?
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I want
Let's
from,
go to an
like,
audience. Let's go to an audience of people that are going to talk about fucking flim flam fluff and suck us off and make us think that we've created the best thing since sliced bread, which is what Complex does, as opposed to some folks who are shit between me and D. What you talking about? Almost 10,000 pairs of shoes. You're talking about millions of dollars spent if you like add the cost of inflation to that, right?
Right.
These are guys who are going to want answers. They literally, seriously want answers, and we don't have them. So let's not go there because then it could hurt our sales and our bottom line. Because these guys have 10,000 people who listen a week.
I mean, that's a hot seat. And I hope we can still bring that energy, because we've talked to brands and we know that brands listen to us. And I will hope that if they come on, that they are prepared for those questions. Because I know I'm not going to be up there.
No, not at all.
Why y'all releases suck, amongst other things.
You know what one of the things was we told Tinker towards the end of that interview? Remember on the show, we had a segment that we called WTF.
Right.
Y'all remember that segment?
Yeah.
Where we would take the worst shoe that came out, or at least 2 or 3 of the worst shoes that came out during that week. And we were like, what the fuck is this? And we told Tinker at the end of his interview, you've done some great work. We appreciate all your contributions from both Nike and Jordan. Please don't make this list. And what happened?
He made the list right after.
He made the list right after that.
Yeah. Was it?
He made
Was it the Jordan with the dress shoe dots on the toes? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
I remember.
Jordan 2000, the Jordan
2009.
2012.
2012, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
That was
made the
pretty
list.
bad. It's pretty bad. I remember that.
That's some shit that would have.
He made the list.
Because at first I thought, didn't they try to pin that on Dwayne first before they pinned it on Tinker? And that was before they started hiding that Tinker was the designer of certain shoes. They wouldn't release it immediately.
Right. They would shoes would come out and it'd be Tinker in combination with someone else. Like
Yeah.
the 2012, like when they started doing that Zoot Suit era shit, you know? That's what I call the Zoot Suit era, when everything started to look like, you needed a black and white suit and a big hat on.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So he did. Matter of fact, that gives us the context of what time frame that was shot. So that was Tinker was on anywhere between 2011 and 2012. Because then when the 2012 came out, remember we were all pissed because they moved away from the number scheme to the years. They did 2009. 2010 was the one with the hole in the side, that big window.
Dwayne Wade.
Oh yeah.
Dwayne Wade was rocking those mostly.
2000, actually it was the 2011. That's what it was. The 2011 that had that wingtip inspired design.
Because the 2012s, didn't they have what? 2012s were the interchangeable soles, right? Or interchangeable insole.
Those still had that zoot suit kind of.
Yeah, they were bulky as shit.
But it was the 2011 that was the one.
I'm glad I never gave a fuck about any of these shoes.
Not the interchangeable insole technology. I actually like that era because that was also when you go back to the Pippins.
But the interchangeable insole two-shot, that was first introduced to Jordans by Dwayne Edwards in the 21.
Right. I remember that.
That was introduced.
Because didn't that predate the Kobe too? Yeah, that predated the Kobe 8, the Kobe 8 system.
You're looking at me like I know any of this shit.
No, you should remember the Kobe 8 system.
Ass.
All right, man. Sticker, man.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about right there. But again, we told Tinker, please don't make this segment, because he stayed on for the segment. I remember he stayed on for the segment, which he enjoyed. Yeah, a lot. So we were like, Tinker, please don't make this segment. Please don't. And he messed around and partnered with somebody up there. I can't remember who the designer was, who he was with, but it was him and some other designer. And that shoe came out, and we were like, nope.
Yeah,
you made it, buddy. We didn't want you to make it. You made it, buddy.
I love the integrity. Like, fuck it, nigga, you fucked up. You cool? List.
All right. So I'm pretty sure we about to wrap this up. So
yeah, because my battery is about to die.
Oh snap! All right. So what's next for Pensole Academy and everything that you have going on, my good sir?
Well, our chapter with Pensole College ended
social studies
in 2022. 2023.
Okay.
Now that we've opened the academy. This year we got some really exciting classes coming. We have a partnership with George Floyd's brother Terrence for a class called Fashionably Wrong, where we go over the history of racial and culturally offensive products and marketing from fashion and footwear brands. That's going to be a big one that we're pushing a lot this year. And
congratulations.
Thank you. More IP science, more of the usual social studies. And we got a couple of other big things like the content that we're going to be pushing out. Critical Race Theory is about to get active. The return of the OSD podcast is about to come back. And Know You Got Soul, the mobile docuseries. That's all coming too.
Well, let me go ahead and give y'all a round of applause. Well, I will say this, from Davon and I, you can always use our platform to better boost, to advertise whatever you got going on, man, because there would be no us if it wasn't for you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you guys. I'm proud of y'all. Congratulations on 100. And I can't wait to see y'all put this out. Can't wait to see the viral clips that y'all chop up and put out, because we was talking some shit tonight. So I know y'all going to throw this up in that Get Munch or whatever and chop them viral clips and get out there and then have people throwing darts at me on social media. I can't wait.
I don't think they can hate you more than they hate me. So it would be us up there together.
We're about to find out now, aren't we? Congratulations, y'all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
man.
sir.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for coming on here. Thank you for helping me get my. Like, I sound like a drug addict, but thank you for helping me get my life on track. Because you were a big part of me stop trolling. Thank you for showing the groundwork for me doing the groundwork for podcasting. Everything that you do out here and continue to do, I will be eternally grateful for, man.
I'm proud of you, man. Let's get that brand out there. And when it's time for the models, you better call me.
Oh, nigga, you know, as soon as I come to New York, I need you. Yeah, just take this.
I've been working out, man. I need you to put some clothes on me so I can show people. To be continued, y'all. Thanks, Shaw. Proud of you too, bro. Don't forget. You already know. You're a soul doctor, so you already know.
Thank you. I appreciate you, man. More than you know.
All right, well, let's get this out of here. Dog
Ladies,
bless.